It was Rebecca's 45th birthday, and I'd shown up at her place ahead of time, carrying the custom cake from her go-to bakery. It ran me $200, but for my sole kid, no price felt too steep. I rapped on the door grinning, picturing her face beaming like in her childhood days. Yet when she swung it open, her look was pure irritation. "Oh, you," she grumbled, barely glancing my way. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," I offered, extending the cake topped with candles. "Got your beloved chocolate strawberry one, same as when you were small." Rebecca let out a heavy sigh, acting like my gift was some heavy load. "Mom, we have to chat," she stated flatly, ushering me in sans a word of thanks for the treat. We settled in the spacious living room of her lovely residence, the very home I'd fully funded for her and David's wedding, dipping into my nest egg for $50,000. Funds I'd scraped together bit by bit, pulling extra hours as a nurse over 4 decades. "Listen, Mom," Rebecca started in that icy tone she'd honed lately. "I've mulled over my birthday a ton, gifts included, and what'd really bring me joy." I bobbed my head eagerly. "Sure thing, darling, spill it and it's yours. A getaway, some gems, or that fresh ride you brought up." Rebecca locked eyes with me, and the disdain in them sent a shiver down my spine. "The top gift I'd crave for my birthday," she drawled deliberately, "would be for you to simply pass away." Time froze. It hit me like my heart had been torn right out. Her statement looped in my head endlessly. My girl, my flesh and blood, craving my demise as her special present. "What? Repeat that." I barely breathed, tears stinging my eyes. "You caught it." She pressed on with a chill that sliced deep. "I'm done with you, Mom. Fed up with your endless rings, surprise drop-ins, you hovering and meddling always. Life'd be smoother and brighter if you'd vanish." My fingers quivered wildly. 72 years on Earth, 45 as her parent, and I'd never imagined those cruel lines from her lips. "Rebecca," I choked out through sobs, "I'm your mom. I've handed you the world. I've poured out my all for you." "Precisely," she cut in, rising from the couch, "and it's smothering me. I can't get air with you everywhere. I crave space. I need you to back off and let me handle my days, minus your chaos and demands." The $200 cake lingered in my grip, its candles starting to drip. All I'd envisioned, embraces, chuckles, perhaps a shared meal, dissolved into nothing. "But sweetie," I pleaded once more, "I only want nearness, a spot in your world. You're my everything." "And that's the issue," she shot back, folding her arms. "Me being your sole focus. Build your own world and give me room." I rose shakily, knees wobbling, clutching that cake, now mocking me. "I can't fathom you uttering this," I whispered. "After all I've poured in, all you've poured in." She scoffed mockingly. "Mom, it was all to prop yourself up, stay essential, pull strings on me. But I'm grown now. Grown." I headed for the exit, each footfall draining my vitality. At the doorway, I glanced back, yearning for remorse in her gaze, a glimpse of the tender child she'd been. Instead, just eagerness for my exit, so she could party free of my bother. "Happy birthday, Rebecca," I breathed. Then I stepped out, shutting the door. Little did I know then it'd mark my final crossing into that home as the devoted mom who'd given it all. For Rebecca had stirred something long asleep in me, buried for years. Back in my modest flat, legs unsteady and spirit shattered, I arrived. The $200 cake went straight to the bin. The softened candles mirrored the endless stream of my tears. I sank into my worn couch, the same one where I'd cradled baby Rebecca, shared bedtime tales night after night, shed joyful drops each time she said, "Mom." How had it come to this? How could my daughter, the one I'd borne for 9 months, voice such a heartless wish for my end? Memories flooded back then, every single sacrifice across those 45 years. Like when she was 3 and battling pneumonia, I logged triple shifts at the clinic to cover her meds. That came to $200 in antibiotics, beyond what my coverage paid. Cash I raised by selling my Elle She Took My jewelry and sold it. By the time she hit 16 and dreamed of heading to the prom, I'd spent full weekends laboring for 4 straight months just to afford that $800 pink gown for her. I can still picture the way her eyes lit up as she slipped it on. "Thanks, Mom. You're the greatest ever," she'd whispered, wrapping her arms around me fiercely. During her college years, after she'd switched majors for the 3rd time, I covered every single tuition bill without uttering a word of protest. $42,000 in all, scraped together by securing a second mortgage on our home. "No need to fret, sweetie," I'd reassure her whenever she'd phone in tears. "Your schooling comes first, always." For her wedding to David, I handled all the planning and footing the $35,000 bill to give her the fairy tale day she envisioned. The city's finest ballroom, stunning floral arrangements, a feast she picked out without glancing at costs. "My little girl deserves it all," I kept saying as I wrote out check after check. Then there was the home, the very one where she'd just shamed me moments ago. When Rebecca and David set their sights on their initial real estate purchase, I jumped in without pause. "The down payment, leave that to me," I insisted. It wiped out $150,000 from my retirement nest egg, funds I'd squirreled away over decades. But that was just the beginning. 5 years back, when the twins showed up, I stepped in as their unpaid nanny. Night after night, when Rebecca craved a date with David, or whenever their schedule demanded childcare, I'd show up gratis, thrilled to support my girl in chasing the life she'd longed for. Last year, after David got laid off, who covered the house payments for those 8 months, I did. $16,000 pulled straight from my pension fund, cash that forced me to subsist on rice and beans for weeks to make ends meet, and for the twins' braces. Another $4,000 I shelled out on autopilot. "Relax," I comforted them, noting their worried expressions. "Grandmas exist for this." I rose from the couch and headed to my desk, pulling out the stacks of receipts, tangible evidence of every dollar I'd poured into my daughter and her household. Piles of paperwork I'd archived not out of suspicion, but from the joy of revisiting all I'd managed to provide. I crunched the numbers. Raising Rebecca from infancy until she flew the nest, roughly $200,000. University fees, $42,000. The ceremony, $35,000. House deposit, $150,000. Unemployment-era mortgage help, $16,000. Orthodontic work for the kids, $4,000. Plus birthday and holiday presents across the years, easily another $10,000. The sum hit hard, over $460,000, nearing $500,000 sunk into her joy. And for what? To learn her deepest wish was my death. Droplets stained the documents as I tallied it up. Had I tucked that cash into a compound interest account instead, it'd top $600,000 now. I'd own a cozy dwelling, jet off globally, savor an easy retirement rather than scraping by in this cramped flat. Yet I'd opted to pour it into affection. I'd trusted that every cent on her was wisely placed, that each hardship paid off, yielding a loving child who'd cherish and support me through my later years. What a naive mistake. I grabbed the receiver and punched in Rebecca's digits. I craved her voice once more, needed proof those cruel phrases had truly escaped her. "What is it this time, Mom?" she snapped irritably on the 5th ring. "Rebecca, did you truly mean those words from earlier?" I queried, my voice quivering. "Absolutely, I did," she shot back, utterly unrepentant. "Mom, you have to grasp that I require some distance. Your fixation on me is toxic." "Fixation?" I echoed, stunned. "You label a parent's devotion as fixation." "Precisely, and I trust today's exchange drives it home. Honor my limits and allow me my own path." I ended the call abruptly, no farewell, no room for error. My own flesh and blood saw my care as a weight, my role in her world as an issue to eradicate. That evening, sleep evaded me. I tossed in bed, eyes fixed on the dark overhead, replaying our sweetest shared times. Each embrace, each "I love you, Mom" from her mouth. Was it all fabrication, or had I nurtured someone so self-absorbed she couldn't peer past her desires? At 3 a.m., a shift stirred within. Grief morphed into fury, into outrage, into the stark realization I'd been exploited, played, and tossed aside like trash. My girl wished me gone. Perhaps it was time to grant her wish. Come morning, I stirred with a sharpness of mind unseen in ages. The sorrow had yielded to something fiercer surged within me. Resolve. If my daughter truly desired me out of her world, I'd oblige, but on my own terms, not hers. I dressed in my finest outfit and stepped out with clear intent. My initial destination, the bank holding the joint account I shared with Rebecca for emergencies tied to her home. I'd set it up as a precaution, depositing $20,000 there to cover any unexpected crises. "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson," the manager, Mr. Martinez, whom I'd known for years, said warmly. "How may I assist you today?" "I'd like to close the joint account number 45872-891, I responded, offering a smile he took for politeness, though it masked sheer retaliation. "Are you certain? There's a substantial balance of $20,000 in it," he cautioned, glancing at his monitor. "Absolutely certain. Please transfer the full amount to my individual account," I confirmed, signing the forms with unwavering resolve. Watching that $20,000 flow back into my personal holdings brought a thrill I hadn't known in ages. This was just the start. Next up, the mortgage lender's office. Over the previous year, while David was out of work, I'd co-signed their home loan. That made me liable if they defaulted, yet it also granted me claims on the property. "Mrs. Johnson," the officer, Ms. Williams, welcomed me. "What can I do for you?" "I'd like to examine the mortgage agreement where I'm listed as co-signer," I stated. "I need a full grasp of my entitlements and duties." As she retrieved the files, memories flooded back of the signing day. Rebecca had teared up with gratitude. "Thanks, Mom. We wouldn't survive without you. You're our hero," she'd whispered, embracing me fiercely. David had expressed his thanks, too, vowing no delays in payments. "Here's the file," Ms. Williams announced, sliding a hefty binder my way. "As co-signer, you're on the hook for payments if the main borrowers falter. However, you can pursue recovery of the property should you deem the debtors unable to meet their commitments." "Precisely," I affirmed, scrutinizing the pages intently. "Any issues with the installments?" she inquired, her tone professionally attentive. "Just assessing things," I answered, tucking duplicates into my purse. "What steps would I take to invoke my co-signer privileges?" "You'd need to prove potential default or existing major delinquencies. Here, records show you handled 8 months of payments last year. That alone indicates the primary borrower's fiscal unreliability." Ideal. David had been let go from his job just last week, a detail Rebecca shared carelessly, oblivious to its weight. She figured she was subtly seeking aid, but instead she armed me for my counterstrike. I departed the office grinning. My precious girl had no clue about the tempest gathering. Final destination, my trusted attorney, Mr. Anel Adams, a 70-year-old confidant of my deceased spouse. He was intimately familiar with my family dynamics and had observed my endless support for Rebecca over decades. "Julieta," he welcomed me affectionately. "To what do I owe this visit? It's rare for you to drop by." "Anel, I require your expertise on a crucial matter," I explained, settling into the chair opposite his desk. "I'm overhauling my will entirely." His brows arched in astonishment. Trouble with Rebecca. I laid it all out. Every cutting remark, every slight, the icy demand for my demise on her very birthday. Anel absorbed it quietly, his face hardening progressively. "Julieta," he concluded, "my deepest sympathies for your pain. I never imagined Rebecca capable of this, given all your devotion." "Nor I," I exhaled. "But my mind's set. Revise the will to direct everything to a charity. Establish a trust for the grandkids too, but bar Rebecca from it until they're 25. Feasible, Annal agreed, jotting notes. Shall we update your life insurance beneficiaries as well? Naturally, remove Rebecca from anything bearing her name. She wishes me gone, but upon my passing, she won't claim a dime from me. We devoted 2 hours to combing through my affairs, the $100,000 life insurance, savings, condo, portfolio, all previously earmarked for Rebecca, now rerouted to the Orphans Foundation, my longtime volunteer spot. One more item, I added as we wrapped up. Draft papers to seize the house Rebecca occupies. As mortgage co-signer, I'm entitled, and with her husband's recent job loss. Annel's gaze sharpened with comprehension. Now the full picture emerges. Are you certain you wish to take it that extreme? Absolutely, I responded, my resolve catching even me off guard. My daughter had claimed her existence would improve without me around. Fine then, I'm vanishing, but not before ensuring she grasps precisely the reality of a world minus my support and all the efforts I've poured into her. By the time I exited Annel's office, night had fallen. Strolling the familiar blocks of my area, I felt invigorated, like emerging from a prolonged haze. For 4.5 decades, my world had revolved around Rebecca. I'd forsaken my aspirations and needs to fulfill hers, yet that chapter ends now. Returning to my place, I uncorked a bottle and savored a glass of wine, a ritual I'd abandoned long ago. Raising it to my own reflection marked a fresh milestone, one that washed over me with profound freedom. I grabbed my cell and punched in a contact I'd stored ages back, though I'd lacked the nerve to call until then. It linked to an outfit catering to seniors with deals on overseas relocation. "Hello there, this is Julietta Johnson," I announced as the line connected. "I caught wind of your ad for settling in Switzerland. Mind emailing over the full details?" "Absolutely, Ms. Johnson," came the reply. Our patrons flock to Switzerland. Options range from short-term visits to full-time settlement. Which specifics interest you? All of it, I shot back firmly. Tell me everything about a 72-year-old embarking on a fresh chapter there. Once the call ended, I lingered by the pane, gazing at the urban sprawl that had defined my days. Before long, this backdrop would fade into the past. Rebecca had framed my absence as her ideal present, and I'd deliver it with maximum flair. Little did she realize, her desire would soon morph into her deepest regret. The ensuing days blurred into a whirlwind of feelings and covert arrangements. Each dawn brought a blend of ache and resolve propelling my scheme ahead. It resembled rousing from an extended torpor, one spent solely serving my child's whims. Now, at last, I pursued my own path. Come Wednesday, my device buzzed, Rebecca calling. Briefly, my pulse quickened, hoping perhaps she'd second-guessed herself, maybe even expressed remorse for her cruel outburst. How foolish I remained. "Mom," she uttered in that icy tone she'd lately favored, "I require a hand from you." No greeting, no inquiry about my well-being. She dove right in, treating me like hired help. "What's required?" I queried, eager to test the limits of her nerve. "The twin school event is Friday, and David and I face a crucial business meal. Would you mind looking after them that evening?" The twist was exquisite. This very person who'd craved my demise as her special treat now requested childcare as though no rift existed, as if I stood ready on demand, round the clock. "I'm unavailable," I stated flatly. "What? Unavailable how?" She pressed, truly taken aback. Clearly denial from me was foreign territory. "I've got commitments," I fibbed, grinning invisibly. "What commitments could you have?" She probed with that patronizing edge that stung profoundly. As though at 72, I forfeited any claim to personal pursuits. "Commitments that don't concern you," I countered steadily. "Locate someone else for the job. Mom, securing help last minute is impossible. Plus, when did you start billing me for time with your grandkids?" There it surfaced, the guilt-tripping tactic she'd wielded for years. "Not this round." "Ever since you declared my passing as your top wish," I retorted coolly. "If my exit from your life is what you crave, consider it underway." Silence stretched across the connection. At length, Rebecca huffed a mocking chuckle. "You're actually sulking like some kid. I figured the fuss would blow over by now." "It's no fuss, Rebecca. It's honoring your request. You sought my vanishing act, so here it begins." "Whatever," she snapped irritably. "If you're set on acting immature, suit yourself. Just don't whine when isolation hits." She disconnected abruptly. Ideal. Each exchange solidified my choice. Later that day, I headed to the bank once more, this time for an unthinkable move, pulling out the bulk of my funds and bills. $30,000 tucked into a folder and locked in my private vault, the nest egg for my Swiss reinvention. I rang the agency, too, locking in my departure. A Zurich-bound flight come next Tuesday with flexibility for an open-ended extension. Upfront fee, $5,000 handed over without a second thought. My priciest, shrewdest outlay in ages. Thursday dawned with an unforeseen caller at my door. My neighbor, Elvara, a 68-year-old woman. The neighbor in the unit right beside mine, a friend I'd built a bond with during the last 5 years. "Julieta," she remarked, settled in my sitting room clutching a mug of coffee. "You seem altered lately. Is everything okay?" Elvara had quietly observed every compromise I'd made for Rebecca's sake. She'd watched me ditch our get-togethers to hurry to my daughter's side at a moment's notice. She'd noticed the pricey groceries I'd haul over to her while scraping by on cheap canned meals to cut costs. I shared it all with her, the raw truth of the birthday fiasco and every scheme I'd hatched that week. "My goodness, Julieta," Elvara whispered, her gaze brimming with moisture. "I can't fathom Rebecca uttering such harsh words after all you've poured into her." "The harshest bit," I clarified, "is how she delivered it like everyday chatter, like I was some irritation she'd rather erase." "And you're set on heading to Switzerland." "Absolutely," I affirmed steadily. "Tickets already in hand. Departures Tuesday." Elvara clasped my palms gently. "You realize I've got your back completely, don't you? What Rebecca pulled is beyond pardon." "One more thing," I added, dropping my tone. "I'll require your assistance on a crucial matter." I laid out the full scheme, how I'd convince Rebecca of my actual passing, if only briefly. Elvara would play the key role, spotting my deserted place and the goodbye note. "It's genius," she breathed, a sly grin creeping in. "That selfish girl will at last grasp the sting of your absence. Count on me." Without question. Honestly, it's precisely the jolt Rebecca requires to snap out of it. That evening, I crafted the pivotal message of my existence, the one Rebecca would discover on her desk, the one poised to upend her world. I drafted and revised each phrase meticulously, ensuring it captured my intent precisely. "Dearest Rebecca," it opened, "your birthday request was for me to vanish from your world, and I've chosen to honor it. By the time these words meet your eyes, I'll be miles away, embracing the existence I deferred for years to devote myself to you." I pressed on for hours, cataloging each dollar expended on her, each concession granted, each chance forsaken by prioritizing her demands above all. Yet it wasn't laced with resentment. It aimed to instruct. I wanted her to fully comprehend the treasure she'd squandered. "Enclosed with this are the official papers I've executed this week," I went on. "The updated will, the termination of your medical coverage that I funded, the alert that, as your mortgage co-signer, I'm invoking my options given David's shaky employment, and the end to every monetary perk from me." The document stretched to 23 pages, outlining with precision how her circumstances would shift now that I'd faded away, per her desire. "Your days will simplify without my interference," it concluded, "yet they'll cost far more. May it prove worthwhile." Come Friday evening, while stuffing my essentials into a pair of bags, Rebecca rang me. I ignored it. She tried thrice again, but I allowed the device to buzz unanswered. Our words were spent. Saturday brought David to my threshold, weary and frantic. "Julieta," he urged softly, "Rebecca filled me in on your clash. I get that her words were out of line, but don't dismantle our household over it." "Undo what, exactly?" I inquired, feigning surprise. "Cease the support. Pull away so abruptly. The little ones depend on you. We all do." How revealing. When Rebecca sought my exit, I became a pest. But once the scope of my aid dawned on them, I transformed into essential. "David," I responded evenly, "your spouse made herself abundantly clear. My role in her routine weighs too heavy now. I'm merely honoring her preference." "But Julieta, you understand Rebecca's temper flares. She spoke without thinking." "Without thinking." She rang utterly sincere, wishing my demise as her present. David dropped his gaze, sensing the futility of justifying the unjustifiable. "Just a moment," he pressed. "Let me mend this. I'll reason with Rebecca. Show her her error." "That ship sailed," I stated, easing the door shut. "Pass my love to the grandkids." Sunday marked my final hours in that town. I strolled the morning away revisiting cherished spots from my past, the clinic where I'd labored 4 decades, the green space where I'd strolled with toddler Rebecca, the chapel of my union to her dad. It served as my quiet adieu to an existence wholly surrendered to others. Monday would dawn a chapter devoted solely to my own pursuits. That Sunday evening, I lay awake all night. Not from anxiety or second thoughts, but from an unfamiliar thrill I hadn't known in years. The buzz of impending discovery. At 72, I stood on the brink of the existence I'd always imagined, yet too timid to chase. Precisely at 5 a.m. that Monday, Elvivara rapped on my door, right on schedule. She arrived with steaming coffee and a sly grin that sparked my vitality. "Set for your big getaway," she teased with a playful eye roll. "Beyond set," I shot back, hauling my pair of bags toward the exit. "Got the extra keys for my place." "Right here," she confirmed, displaying the bunch I'd handed over the previous evening. "Plus, I've got the note for Rebecca and the full stack of paperwork you'll set on her desk." We'd orchestrated the details with precision. Elvivara would hold off until Wednesday before heading to Rebecca's building to hand over the files. Feigning alarm after discovering my flat deserted and growing concerned over my vanishing act, she alone would deliver the bombshell to Rebecca. I was out of the picture for good. "Key point," I reminded her as we summoned a taxi. "Play it super distressed. Explain I ignored calls for 2 days straight, that you banged on my door with no reply, and when you let yourself in with the spares, the place was barren except for that letter waiting on her surface." "Relax, Julieta," she assured me with a cheeky beam. "I've taught theater for 3 decades. This'll be my finest act yet." The taxi pulled up sharp at 6 a.m. As they stowed my luggage, I cast a final glance around my home. I'd resided there 15 years, yet oddly, no sentiment tugged at me. It felt like shedding chains I'd forged in solitude. "Airport bound?" the driver inquired. "Airport it is," I affirmed, sensing those simple words launch my fresh chapter. Over the 40-minute drive, my mind wandered to all I was abandoning. The hospital volunteering, the everyday habits, the endless fretting over Rebecca's troubles. Yet I dwelled too on what lay ahead, the liberty to choose my path, to indulge my funds on personal joys, to exist unburdened by my child's relentless emotional pulls. At the terminal, as I lingered for my departure, Rebecca's calls buzzed in 3 times, which I let ring out. Then a message pinged, "Mom, this is absurd. The grandkids want you. Ring back." I erased it sans response. It struck me as intriguing how, now that I wasn't on constant call, she abruptly craved my presence. The Zurich flight dragged on for hours, yet it passed serenely. After ages, my whereabouts remained a mystery to all. No pleas for assistance, cash, or hours could reach me. That rush of independence hit like a drug, unmatched since my pre-parenting days. Across the 12-hour span, I jotted in my diary the week's whirlwind, each twist, sentiment, and choice culminating in this liberation. I craved a vivid recall of escaping a draining bond, even if it tied me to my daughter herself. I touched down in Zurich Tuesday evening by local clock, An agency rep met me curbside, holding a placard bearing my name. He was a youthful, affable fellow called Klaus, fluent in flawless English. "Mrs. Johnson," he said warmly, beaming. "Greetings in Switzerland, eager for fresh horizons." "Eager indeed," I answered, and for the first time lately, my grin rang utterly true. Klaus ferried me to a charming leased flat smack in Zurich's heart, secured for a month as I pondered a long-term commitment. Compact yet inviting, it featured panes framing a quaint green space and a glimpse of the water. "Here's the rundown on local spots," he offered, passing a hefty dossier. "Dining options, senior-friendly pursuits, language lessons in German, community circles. Plus, I've booked a session with a money expert for tomorrow p.m. to sort the forms if you opt to settle here." That evening, slumber came deeper than it had in ages. No buzzing device, no demands on my time, no duties save self-care. Wednesday dawned with me rising at first light, stepping out to wander the town. I savored a light meal at a quaint lakeside spot. I picked up vibrant blooms for my short-term pad. And after decades, I splurged on pure whimsy, a luxurious silk wrap priced at $100. I claimed it just because it caught my eye, ignoring costs or if those dollars might better serve my girl's crises. Strolling Zurich's lanes, I tallied mentally the funds I'd poured into Rebecca over the past 5 years alone. From covering house loans during David's jobless stretch to the twins' dental fixes, endless presents, the fuel to drive we're watching over the children, the meals I'd always carried during my visits, it all added up to no less than $50,000. That $50,000 could have funded trips around the globe, a relaxed lifestyle, or chasing the ambitions I'd shelved for years. Yet I'd handed it over to a daughter who saw my affection as a weight and my company as an annoyance. Around 2 p.m. Zurich time, I figured it was 8 a.m. back in my hometown. Elvra would soon head to Rebecca's place to drop off the note that would upend their world. I settled on a lakeside seat and bided my time. I was certain that before long, my cell would buzz incessantly. Rebecca would at last grasp the reality of losing me for good. By 5 p.m. the device began to hum. Rebecca's name flashed. I allowed it to keep going until it quit. It buzzed once more right away. Her again. This round I picked up. "Mom," she yelled, her tone breaking apart. "Where on earth are you? Elvra showed up here with a message from you. She claimed you vanished. What's happening?" "Hi, Rebecca," I responded steadily, gazing at the Swiss waters while chatting. "Have you gone through the note?" "Yeah, I did. Are you out of your mind? How could you pull this on us? Tell me your location." "I'm right where I belong," I shot back. "Miles from you, exactly like you desired." "But that's not what I wanted. I never meant for you to really go. I was furious, that's all. I didn't intend those words." There it came. Rebecca's go-to move, downplaying the pain she'd inflicted, twisting things to make me feel bad for responding to her harshness. "You didn't mean it when you declared your biggest birthday hope was my death," I pressed her, "since you came across so sincere. It was only, I was just upset. David's out of work once more. The little ones are causing school troubles. Stress is overwhelming me. I regret dumping it on you." "You're correct. You shouldn't have. But it's over now and you can't unsay things." "Mom, come home, please. We require you. I require you." How revealing. Suddenly she required me, right after scanning the details on all the monetary perks she'd forfeited. Now aware her home might slip away, realizing she'd cover her own medical coverage and hire help for the twins. "Is it me you need or my cash?" I questioned her outright. A drawn-out quiet hung on the line. "I need you," she whispered at last, though her words rang hollow. "Rebecca, for 45 years my life revolved around you. I gave up my aspirations, my funds, my hours, my chances. And just when I craved proof that you cherished and respected me, you wished me gone from this world. That cut me deeper than any repair could reach. I'm sorry, Mom. Truly sorry. Sorry won't cut it, Rebecca. The harm's irreversible. And honestly, perhaps it was the sharpest thing you ever uttered since it snapped me awake and showed me I'd botched my own existence. What are you saying? I'm saying that after decades, I'm finally prioritizing myself, and it feels incredible. Where are you, Mom? Tell me, please, Rebecca pleaded, her speech thick with sobs. The kids keep wondering about their grandma. They can't figure out your absence. It was striking how, with me out of reach, the grandkids abruptly longed for me. All those years, when I ditched my schedule to mind them, splurged on lavish presents, or carted them to the playground so Rebecca could shop, it was simply my duty. But with my departure, the void hit hard. The children will manage, I said, eyeing the distant Swiss peaks. They're tough. What they'll absorb is that choices bring results, and cruel remarks can shatter bonds for good. Mom, I beg you can't vanish this way. What if trouble strikes you? What if illness hits? How would we find out? Now concern for my safety surfaced. So timely. Rebecca, over the past 5 years, high blood pressure landed me in the hospital 3 times. Recall how often you stopped by. 0. You were always tied up with bigger priorities, so spare me the sudden worry over my condition. That's not accurate, she objected faintly. It is. First hospital stay, I rang you straight from the ER. You skipped it for a salon visit. Second was David's celebration. You were partying. Third, you ignored the call entirely. The hush that followed proved she recalled each moment vividly. I figured it wasn't grave, she muttered. Naturally, since my welfare ranked low for you, but my bank account, that mattered. This isn't regarding funds, Rebecca cried out. It's you. I miss you, Mom. Do you miss me or the round-the-clock fixer for your messes? I ended the call before she could reply. It lit up instantly, but I switched it off for good. I savored my initial evening of independence. That evening, I dined solo at a sophisticated eatery overlooking the lake. I selected the priciest item available, salmon topped with caviar priced at $80, and I polished off a full bottle of French wine. It had been ages since I'd indulged in such extravagance, perpetually convinced that every dollar should go toward Rebecca's benefit. On Thursday, I powered up my phone and discovered 47 unanswered calls, plus 23 voicemails, everyone from Rebecca and David. The text shifted from gentle pleas to outright warnings. The opening message read, "Please, Mom, pick up. We're so worried." By the 5th, it escalated. "If you ignore us, we'll alert the authorities." The 10th grew hostile. "We've already contacted the police. They explained there's no action possible since you left a note detailing your exit." The 15th revealed more. "The bank reached out. You've emptied the shared account. How will we handle crises?" The 20th captured it perfectly. It was striking to witness how their anxiety over my safety swiftly morphed into dread about the monetary fallout from my vanishing. I chose to respond to just a single text. "I'm okay. I'm right where I belong. Stop searching for me." Their comeback arrived in under 5 minutes. "You have no idea of the damage you're causing. You'll destroy everything." The mortgage attorney contacted us. "He claims you could seize our home." There it lay, exposed. Her fears weren't about my potential pain or peril. They centered on grasping the economic fallout of my departure. I shot back, "At last, you see the value I bring to your world. Pity it dawned on you so belatedly." Later that day, I met with the Swiss wealth consultant. He was a seasoned, impeccably polished gentleman called Herr Meyer, who outlined my pathways to long-term settlement in Switzerland. "Given your existing funds and U.S. retirement income," he noted, "you could thrive here indefinitely. Our nation offers top-tier healthcare options for overseas retirees, alongside an outstanding standard of living. For the first time in decades, I discussed my money matters freely, free from the burden of reserving cash for Rebecca's crises. It felt empowering to budget purely around my personal wants and requirements. You might also allocate some of your capital into local markets, Herrmeyer went on. The yields are reliable and protected. With smart choices, your portfolio could grow twofold within half a decade. Double my holdings. How often had that chance slipped by? Yet I'd opted to funnel it all into my child's fleeting desires. Is there more I ought to share? The expert inquired. Plenty of our patrons face circumstances like yours. Seniors seeking fresh beginnings in Switzerland following tangled kin dynamics. You're far from isolated in this journey. His words soothed me profoundly. I wasn't the sole parent exploited and cast aside by thankless offspring. An entire network existed of folks who'd prioritized their joy over poisonous familial pressures. Come Friday morning, I signed up for a trekking outing aimed at seniors. The group included 8 ladies and 4 gentlemen, ranging from 60 to 75, each eager for thrills and fresh encounters. En route by coach, I chatted with a lady named Ingrid, a 71-year-old from Germany who'd relocated to Switzerland 2 years prior. What drew you to this place? She wondered, as we gazed at the scenery through the glass. A child who declared her top birthday desire was my passing, I replied bluntly. No longer did I bother softening the harsh truth. Ingrid's eyes widened in shock. For real, absolutely for real. Following my funding of her home, my near full-time role in child-rearing, and forgoing my own golden years for her sake, she deemed my existence a crushing weight on her world. Heavens, Ingrid whispered. And your response? What did I do? She pressed. I vanished from her orbit, and now I'm here. Ingrid beamed with respect. That's incredibly courageous. It required 5 years for me to summon the resolve to abandon my poisonous relatives. My boy and his spouse viewed me as a walking cash machine. All through the day, Ingrid and I exchanged our tales. She'd escaped to Switzerland upon recognizing that her grown kids only reached out for funds to cover trips, vehicles, or caprices. Once she established limits, they branded her a self-centered parent and warned against future grandkid visits. Those initial months were tough, Ingrid admitted, amid our stroll through an ancient village. Remorse consumed me. I questioned if I truly was the selfish one, believing a devoted mom must forever yield to her young. What shifted your view? I probed. I saw that my offspring never pondered my contentment, whether I had sufficient resources for myself or if my endless concessions were wounding me. Their focus stayed solely on my contributions. That's not affection, Julieta. That's manipulation. Her statement struck a chord deep within me. For years on end, I'd mistaken psychological control for parental devotion, endless requests for authentic requirements. That evening in my flat, I chose to power up my cell for the final time after days of silence. There were 62 unanswered calls and 47 unread texts waiting. The majority came from Rebecca and David, though a few were from unfamiliar contacts. I went through the messages in sequence, tracking the shift in my daughter's distress. The initial ones stayed heartfelt. Please, Mom, please return. We miss you. The children are upset over your absence. Over time, they turned increasingly frantic and money-focused. The bank summoned us for a Friday discussion. They claim that, as the co-signer, you could seize the property. They won't repossess our home over some mix-up. By day 5, the tone had sharpened into hostility. This is absurd, Mom. You're destroying our family because of a fit. Behave responsibly and return. And at last, a plea born of fear. I've contacted every hospital, the authorities, your acquaintances. Nobody has a clue about your whereabouts. If harm comes to you, I'll carry the blame. Just let me know you're safe. It was intriguing to see that Rebecca never truly expressed regret for her death wish toward me. She never recognized the harshness of her statements or showed sincere regret. Everything centered on how my disappearance harmed her. I opted to send one final reply. I'm doing great and more content than I've felt in ages. What you're facing are the direct outcomes of your behavior. May this lesson teach you to cherish those close to you before you lose them too." The reply arrived at once. "Mom, please, we can resolve this. I swear I'll never utter such awful things again. Just return home." I composed my closing message. Hollow vows won't heal shattered emotions. Rebecca, your outburst exposed your true feelings about me. You can't erase that reality with frantic assurances. Once I hit send, I blocked her contact along with all those linked to David. I also shut out the strange numbers that had rung me. It was the moment to seal that era shut forever. On Monday, I reconvened with Harry Meyer to execute the documents granting me indefinite residency in Switzerland. I further organized the ongoing shift of my U.S. retirement funds and initiated the sale of my place back in my original town. "Are you certain about committing to this long term?" Harry inquired. "It's quite a significant step." "I've never felt greater certainty about any choice," I answered, inking each form with steady resolve. After years of yielding to others' pressures, I'm finally prioritizing my own joy. That same afternoon, a ring came from Elvira, my trusted neighbor and ally. Her tone bubbled with enthusiasm. "Julietta, listen to this," she urged. "Rebecca showed up at my door yesterday in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. She implored me to convince you to return, calling it a dreadful error. And your response?" I inquired. I gave her the honest truth. What she'd said to you was beyond pardon, and if I were in your shoes, I'd vanish for good as well. You should have witnessed her expression when it dawned on her that even neighbors recognized her brutality toward you. Did she bring up the money troubles? I probed, intrigued. Absolutely. She explained that, without your support, they can't cover the loan payments. The lenders are hounding them. David struggles to secure steady work, and the children require school supplies they can't buy. In essence, she grasped the full extent of your contributions only after they vanished. It unfolded just as I'd foreseen. She didn't long for me as family. She missed my role as their economic backer and fixer. "Elvira," I instructed her, "whenever anyone inquires about me, Rebecca included, say that I'm gone to them, because in a way it's accurate. The Julietta who endlessly gave up everything for an unappreciative child truly passed away on her birthday." "I get it completely," Elva responded. "And honestly, I believe it's the finest end you could have picked." 3 weeks following my move to Switzerland, my fresh existence had formed in unexpected directions. I'd signed up for German lessons 3 days weekly. I'd begun watercolor sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays and joined an expatriate reading group that gathered Sundays. For the first time in years, my schedule brimmed with pursuits I'd selected myself, ones that sparked delight and self-improvement. Yet the real revelation was my finances. Free from Rebecca's persistent monetary pulls, my reserves didn't just hold steady, they expanded. The placements I'd arranged via Harry Meyer were yielding gains already, allowing me, for once, to plan my monetary outlook purely around my personal requirements. On that Thursday that morning, while enjoying breakfast at my go-to spot overlooking the lake, an unfamiliar international number popped up on my phone. I paused before picking up, but my intrigue won out. "Is this Mrs. Julietta Johnson?" inquired a woman's voice carrying an American twang. "Yes, that's me. May I ask who's speaking?" "I'm Sarah Williams, a social worker with the Family Services Unit back in your hometown. The reason for my call is a concern we've gotten about your welfare." A chill shot through me. A concern? What sort? "Your daughter, Rebecca Johnson, submitted a report claiming you might be dealing with dementia or some form of mental deterioration, and that your recent financial and personal choices are endangering you. She says you vanished abruptly and are now in unstable circumstances overseas." I was stunned by her words. Rebecca had actually escalated things by dragging social services into it, fabricating a health issue to undermine my autonomy and compel me to come back. "Ms. Williams," I responded steadily, "I have no dementia or mental impairment whatsoever. I'm residing in Switzerland entirely on my own terms, in a cozy flat with top-notch healthcare and fully sound mind. My daughter's claims are utterly untrue. I get where you're coming from, Mrs. Johnson, but protocol requires us to confirm your condition. Could we arrange a medical and psych assessment via the American consulate in Switzerland? Absolutely, I said promptly. I'm ready for whatever checks prove my mental sharpness is intact and my choices were made with full clarity. Once we'd sorted out the evaluation logistics, I ended the call, a storm of fury and astonishment brewing inside. Rebecca had overstepped beyond forgiveness. She'd already hoped for my demise, and now she was assaulting my sanity to seize control of my finances and future. Right away, I dialed my attorney, Anel, from back home. Giulietta, he answered, worry in his tone. So relieved to hear from you. Your daughter's kept me busy this week. I can imagine. I just got off the phone with social services. Rebecca's accusing me of dementia. And that's just the start, Anel groaned. She's brought in new counsel to contest every legal update you put in place before leaving, arguing you weren't mentally fit at the time. Can she pull that off? She can attempt it, but her case lacks real footing. I've got audio of our meetings showing your complete mental acuity. Plus, your careful exit strategy and self-sufficient life in Switzerland debunk any notion of decline. What's she up to besides that? She's pushed to tap into your accounts, citing worries about you. She even tried halting the home recovery proceedings, but with solid legal support and her own signature on the papers admitting David lost his job once more, she's got nothing to stand on. It was astonishing the lengths Rebecca would go to reclaim the monetary perks she'd forfeited. Anel, please draw up a slander suit against her. Her bogus claims about my mind could harm my standing and rights. It'd be a highlight, he said with evident approval. After the way she's handled things, she deserves to deal with the fallout legally. 48 hours on, I arrived at the U.S. consulate in Zurich for the health and mental checks. The examining physician, a seasoned older American, grasped the context instantly. Mrs. Johnson, he concluded following a thorough 3-hour review, you're not just mentally fit, you've shown remarkable clarity and bravery in your choices. It's obvious your daughter is gaming the system for financial gain. We'll put that in the official record. Spot on. Please forward a full breakdown to social services, making clear her accusations hold no water and that I'm thriving independently and healthily in Switzerland. That afternoon, the social worker rang me. Mrs. Johnson, the consulate's medical findings are in. It's evident your daughter's worries were groundless. We're wrapping up the matter and informing Rebecca her report lacked merit. Much appreciated. Will this go on file? Yes, it'll note she lodged a baseless alert about a relative's safety, which might carry consequences if it happens again. Excellent. Rebecca hadn't just flopped in discrediting me. She'd earned a formal mark for baseless reporting. That evening, I resolved to tackle something I'd delayed, crafting a public letter recounting my full ordeal, not aimed at Rebecca, but to support fellow moms enduring comparable plights of emotional manipulation and psychological torment from my grown kids. I spent 4 solid hours pouring it all out. Every concession I'd made, every ploy they'd pulled on me, and every move I'd taken to regain my self-respect and rebuild my world. The result was a 20-page document I called When a Parent's Devotion Turns into Self-Sabotage, My Path to Freedom at 72. I chose to submit it to an online publication I'd stumbled upon, one focused on tales of senior women summoning the strength for bold life overhauls. Just a week afterward, the editor shot back with glowing feedback. Giulietta, she said, your account packs a punch and motivates deeply. We've gotten floods of responses from readers who see their own struggles mirrored in it. Care to join us for a video chat on our YouTube setup? I jumped at the chance right away. This was my moment to turn my hardships into support for fellow women stuck in poisonous household ties. The clip dropped 2 weeks on, and it exploded online in no time. Countless ladies chimed in with their own accounts of mature offspring twisting their feelings and draining their wallets. The replies formed a heartbreaking archive of shared agony and sudden insight. One shared, "My 40-year-old boy crashes at my place rent-free, then snaps at me if I nudge him toward employment." Another vented, "My girl only rings when she's short on cash for trips, yet skips visits while I'm under the weather." A different voice admitted, "I figured I was alone and feeling exploited by my kids." Yet the real game changer hit a week post-release. An email popped up from a sender I knew instantly. "David, my ex-son-in-law. Julieta," he began, "caught your YouTube spot. I have to say, I'm right there with you. Rebecca's words to you were beyond the pale, and her long-term behavior toward you is downright wrong. I've seen firsthand how she twists situations and leans on you, but I lacked the guts to call her out since we relied so heavily on your support." He went on, "The children pine for you and can't grasp your absence lately. She's feeding them lines about your health keeping you away, but I think they ought to hear the facts when they're grown." Closing out, he added, "Apologies might come too late now, but I needed you to hear that someone here owns up to our mistreatment of you and the immense toll it took on you for our sakes. Wishing you joy in this fresh chapter of yours." I scanned those lines thrice before crafting a reply. In the end, I typed, "David, your candor means something, though post-damage regrets can't erase the hurt. May this push you to step up as a spouse and dad, guiding your little ones to cherish those who care before time runs out." For the first time, a family member had openly owned the mistreatment I'd endured. It didn't sway my choice to keep distance, yet it delivered the affirmation I'd craved for ages. Life in Switzerland was blooming beyond my wildest hopes. True companions appreciated me as I am, not for my handouts. I'd unearthed old interests and pursuits anew. Serenity filled my days, backed by solid finances. Above all, I possessed self-worth. Half a year into my Swiss stay, existence had molded into something unimaginable. On an ideal spring dawn, a phone ring shattered the calm yet again. It was Alvara, my trusty neighbor and confidant. Julieta, she bubbled with energy. "You've got to catch this. Rebecca's lost the home." My pulse skipped. Even after all that, concern lingered for my grandkids' welfare. "What went down precisely?" I probed. "The lender seized it via foreclosure last week. David couldn't land steady work. They defaulted on the loan, and with you as co-signer asserting your rights, the process rolled forward. She showed up at my door yesterday in tears, unraveling completely. The youngsters are okay. They've shifted to a modest flat across town. David's taken a factory gig now, pays way down from before, but it's reliable at last. Rebecca's back at a job as well. A whirlwind of emotions hit me oddly. No glee in their woes, but a profound sense of fairness prevailing. At last, Rebecca and David faced the fallout of their choices head on, sans a bailout. Anything more?" Alvara pressed on. She inquired if I had your reach. Claims she's ready for a real sorry, that she gets now what she squandered by pushing you away. And your response. Some scars run too profound to mend, and certain barbs linger forever. Plus, I mentioned you're thriving in your fresh start, and that it might be wiser for everyone if she avoids reaching out to you. Alvara had been spot on. During those 6 months, I'd cultivated a sense of inner calm that I wasn't about to jeopardize for hollow assurances from a daughter who'd proven time and again that she only appreciated me when it suited her needs. That very afternoon, my attorney, Anel, rang me up out of the blue. "Julieta, I've got some intriguing updates," he announced. "The bank has auctioned off Rebecca's property at last, and as the co-signer, you're entitled to reclaim your original stake of $150,000, along with the interest that's built up. And what's the full figure? $185,000. They've greenlit the payout already. The funds should hit your Swiss account by next week. It felt surreal. I'd not only gotten back my initial outlay, but also pocketed an extra $5,000. cash that would have vanished for good had I kept playing the endlessly giving mom. "Oh, and there's more," Annelle went on. "Your place back in your hometown has sold too. Once fees and costs are deducted, you're netting $95,000. All told, I was pulling in nearly $300,000 from holdings I'd written off as gone. Adding in my current savings and the Swiss investments I'd set up, my overall wealth now topped $500,000. At 72, I was wealthier than at any point before." That evening, I marked the occasion at my go-to spot overlooking the lake. I treated myself to French bubbly and raised a glass to the bold soul who dared to rebuild when all hope seemed dashed. While savoring my meal, I reflected on the whole path I'd traveled. I'd embarked on this adventure as a shattered, demeaned parent, crushed by the harsh barbs from an unappreciative child. Yet here I stood, a self-reliant individual, secure in my finances, encircled by true companions, and embracing the existence I'd long envisioned. Come morning, I resolved to act on an idea brewing for weeks, penning a complete volume on my ordeal. More than just recounting my tale, it would serve as a hands-on manual for senior women ensnared in damaging kin dynamics. I reached out to a Swiss firm focused on self-improvement and development titles. The editor, Brigitte, a fellow woman, showed keen enthusiasm right away. "Giulietta," she remarked in our discussion, "your account addresses an issue plaguing countless females, yet it's seldom aired in public. The silent toll of psychological mistreatment from grown offspring is a widespread crisis demanding attention." Over the following 3 months, I poured myself into crafting When Love Inflicts Pain, Escaping Familial Emotional Harm Beyond 70. It chronicled my own trials alongside actionable tips for spotting coercion, establishing firm limits, and summoning the strength to place personal health first. 8 months on, the volume hit shelves and climbed bestseller lists across various European nations. The correspondence from fans poured in, each one astonishing. Ladies from every corner shared how my narrative had sparked the resolve for sweeping shifts in their circumstances. I devoured your work and grasped at last that I'm no failure as a parent for halting the funding of my 35-year-old boy's recklessness, penned Maria out of Spain. Your experiences showed me that real affection doesn't demand personal ruin, Carmen from Mexico conveyed. Post-book, I offloaded my sprawling home and relocated to a modest flat I managed solo, free from relying on my kids' aid. For the first time in ages, rest comes easy, confided Rosa from Argentina. Yet the message that stirred me deepest arrived a year post-release. It came from a youthful parent by the name of Andrea. Mrs. Johnson, she began, at 30, with a 65-year-old mom who's devoted her existence to me and my brothers and sisters. Your pages illuminated how we're mirroring Rebecca's behavior toward you. It jolted me into seeing the vicious cycle we risked shattering our maternal bond irreparably. Just yesterday, I phoned her to express remorse for years of presumption. Plus, I assured her I'd support her aspirations rather than assuming she'd always cater to my whims. Grateful for the insight before irreparable damage set in. Her words brought tears of elation. My suffering had averted similar rifts in other households. 2 years into my Swiss chapter, a tangible note appeared in my postbox. The script on the front stirred vague recognition, though it took a moment to pinpoint. Upon tearing it open, my pulse raced. It was penned by my grandchildren, aged 12 now. Dearest Grandma Giulietta, their youthful scrawl read. Dad shared the real reason behind your departure. He explained that Mom hurled some truly hurtful remarks your way, prompting your choice for a fresh beginning distant from us. We need you to know how deeply we yearn for you and that we get the cause of your exit. We're also bursting with admiration for your daring spirit. When as they grow up, we'd be thrilled to come see you in Switzerland if that's something you'd like. We adore you, Grandma. The twins both signed the note, and they'd even sketched pictures of me thriving amid the Swiss Alps. Reading it left me in tears for a full hour, Not from sorrow, but from the realization that choosing to uphold my self-respect was absolutely the correct path, despite having to leave behind those I cherished. I resolved to send a reply right away. To my beloved grandkids, I began, "Your message is the loveliest present I've gotten in ages. My love for you runs profound and eternal, regardless of how far apart we are. Once you're grown and able to choose for yourselves, my heart and my house will forever welcome you with open arms. For now, just remember that your grandmother is embracing a vibrant, joyful existence amid stunning scenery and serenity. Hold on to this affection you have for me, yet draw a lesson from what happened too. Language can construct or shatter, and bonds thrive on shared regard, not one-sided giving up. I cherish you entirely. These days, 3 years on from that devastating birthday that reshaped everything, I'm perched on my Zurich balcony, gazing at the peaks while penning the final words of this tale. At 75, I boast over $600,000 in wealth, a hit book called Dear Friends from all over the world, and a tranquility I once believed was lost to me forever. Rebecca's birthday request was for me to vanish from her world. I fulfilled that in the grandest manner imaginable. What she hadn't foreseen was that in pushing me away, she didn't just forfeit a mom who adored her without limits. She also surrendered the one who'd anchored her finances for so many years. My vanishing act became her present. My fresh start became mine. And it justified every sob, every concession, and every instant of heartache that led me to this place. For at times, the sole path to self-preservation demands the bravery to fully let go, allowing a rebirth into the self you were destined to become. Did my tale resonate with you, and from which city are you tuning in? Share in the comments. We could connect there. If the story moved you, consider a super thanks to help me share more like it. Your kind backing means the world. Thank you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts below. Check out the 2 Fresh Life accounts on screen. I truly suggest them. My channel has tons more waiting. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you for the next one, with warmth and admiration.